Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, before we start commence the program, and here are the following webinar protocol. For each participant ID, please use your real name following with your origin of institution. All of participants are expected to mute the audio and only unmute the video during the event. We cordially invite you to take your own firm and comfort seat in your own room and please avoid the backlight. Make sure that you have a good and stable internet connection. If you have an earphone or headset, we recommend you to use it so that your voice can clearly and loudly to be heard. During the Q&A discussion session, all participants, please use the chat box to deliver the questions. Thank you for your cooperation and consideration.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining our event today, Researcher and Research Student Enrichment Program for Architecture, Urban Planning, Design, and Social Sciences stream, or usually we call it by R2SEP. Before we start our agenda today, I will read out the important information to all attendants. First, please fill the attendance form on the provided link, which will be shared in the Zoom chat room by our committees. The link will be closed in 15 minutes. Second, please fill the feedback form, which will be shared in the Zoom chat room 15 minutes before the session ends, and it will be closed after 1 hour. Third, the attendance and feedbacks are compulsory for their purposes. First, attendance is mandatory for the new ITS master and doctoral students. Certificate of participation, which is eligible for international participant only, who have 60% attendance or minimum 5 meetings. It is for STEM for it, which is eligible only for ITS undergraduate student. Participants who wish to ask questions during the Q&A session, please send your question at the provided link in the Zoom chat room, which will be shared by our committee later. You may raise your hand also during the Q&A session to ask your question directly to the speaker. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to Researcher and Research Student Enrichment Program for Architecture, Urban Planning, Design, and Social Sciences. I'm Dewi from ITS Postgraduate Office, and I will be your Master of Ceremony for this session today, Thursday, 11 November 2021. Before we start the session, allow me to inform you our today's agenda as follows. First agenda is the opening by MC, continued by the introduction of the moderator and also the speaker. After that, we will get to the main agenda, the lecture session, then followed by the Q&A session, and it will be ended with conclusion and also the closing. I would like to remind you again to fill your attendance form shared through the provided link in the Zoom chat room, which will be closed in 15 minutes from now on. Before moving to the next agenda, please allow me to elaborate about today's lecture. Today's lecture theme in R2SEP for Architecture, Urban Planning, Design, and also Social Sciences stream is about research management skill, which will be delivered by our honorable speaker, Dr. Rex Lim from University of the Immaculate Conception, and Mr. Aurelius Ratu M. Hum, Master of from ITS, who will be the one conducting our today's session as our moderator today. Let me introduce you to our moderator today. Our moderator today, Mr. Aurelius Ratu M. Hum, graduated from Sekolah Tinggi Filsafat in Malang or Institute of Philosophy in Malang with the Bachelor of Literature, and his master degree is Master of Humanities, also from the same institution. Currently, he is a researcher and also lecturer in the Department of Development Studies of ITS. His research interests are in ethics and education, social epistemology, and also ethics philosophy. So, without further ado, let's proceed to the main agenda. To Mr. Aurelius Ratu M. Hum as our moderator, the time is yours.
Thank you very much. Can all of you hear my voice?
Yes, we can hear your voice.
Okay, thank you very much for the Mbak Dewi Sartika, who introduced me to the audience here. Thank you very much for inviting me being a moderator in this meeting. Before we proceed to the main agenda, that is the explanation, maybe explication from the Dr. Rex Lim, allow me to introduce you with his autobiography. As you can see in front of you from the slide, the Bachelor of Secondary Education he got from Christian College of Southeast Asia, Philippines. Master of Education he got from University of Southeastern Philippines, and Doctor of Philosophy in Education he got from University of the Immaculate Conception. And here you can see Dr. Rex Lim. Oh, I forget to introduce you the name. His name is Rex Lim. Just is it? Yes, Doctor Rex
Hi.
Lim. Hello.
All right. Yeah. Hello. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay. Just Rex Lim. Nothing
Yes.
family name. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ariel. Is it my
Okay.
turn now?
No. I just I'm reading your biography. Not yet finished. Okay. No problem. Just ask about your name. For the academic and professional experience, currently he is a lecturer and researcher in University of the Immaculate Conception, and he is also teacher in Davao City National High School. He has research expertise in language teaching, linguistics, and film studies. Oh, it's interesting. Maybe we can learn from Dr. Rex Lim many things. So without wasting our time, so we welcome Dr. Rex Lim, and Doctor, the time is yours. You can explain your material, your subject matter on this meeting.
All right. Thank you very much, Aurelius, for that very kind introduction. Let me now share my screen. Is my voice, audio clear?
Yes, it's clear.
It's clear.
All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Okay, once again, good afternoon, and I would like to thank ITS Surbaya, ITS University for this kind invitation. And good afternoon also to those who are watching via our YouTube live stream, and especially to those who are inside this Zoom room. Good afternoon. So my talk this afternoon revolves around research management skills. I know that research is quite daunting to many of us. That's why we need to properly learn how to manage research. So research is a skill, and we also need to develop that management skill in order to properly navigate the research procedures as a whole in the research process in general. So let me begin my presentation by going back to the basic definition of what research is all about. So it says here that research is a process of systematic inquiry that entails collection of data, documentation of critical information, and analysis and interpretation of that data or information in accordance with suitable methodologies set by specific professional fields and academic disciplines. So if you're going to reflect on the definition, it's really quite broad. It's like very complicated, because it's a process of systematic inquiry, because it's not simply as inquiring, it is a systematic inquiry, because research is a scientific process. So therefore, since it's a scientific process, there must be a system. So systematic inquiry that deals with or that entails collection of data, documentation of critical information, analyzing the data, interpreting the data, of course, following certain methodologies. So you see that it's research by itself is really a complex matter. That's why we need to properly learn some management skills in order to, as what I already told you, to navigate the process. But why conduct research in the first place when in fact, sometimes it's difficult and sometimes it's problematic? Well, we conduct research for many reasons. However, if you're going to go back to 21st century skills, research can afford the development of the following 21st century skills. And I would like to emphasize that this is not only intended for 21st century. This is the skills we need. For example, the development of critical thinking, the development of collaboration, the development of our communication skills, may it be in written or verbal communication, and also the development of our creativity. And research can afford on the development of these skills. That by doing research, we become more critical thinkers. By conducting research, we'll be able to develop our collaboration skills, a local collaboration or international collaboration, just like what you're doing right now with ITS, collaborating with your neighboring countries. Inviting experts from neighboring countries. Also, by doing research, we'll be able to develop communication skills, written and oral communication skills, and also our creativity, because research by itself is both a product of is both an art and a science. So I would like to hear from you. What possible problems do you think right now that can hinder you from writing an outstanding research? I think you can type in the chat box. I'm actually opening my chat box right now on this matter. What possible problems do you think right now that can hinder you from writing an outstanding research? May I know your perspective on this? You can type in your question. You don't need to unmute your microphone. All right. I'm requesting the participants to engage. A phrase will do. You don't need to you don't need to answer in sentence. You can just a phrase will do. Possible problems. Do you think right now that can hinder you from writing an outstanding research? Anyone? At least one or two, I guess. I am looking at the chat box. A method, it is more difficult. Thank you, Aurelius. That's really true. That's one of the reasons why we have difficulty writing an outstanding research paper, because sometimes we do not know what methodology or what appropriate method to use. Lack of data. Thank you so much, Mutia. All right. Yeah, that's great. Lack of data. Yeah. A lack of literature. That's an awesome answer. That's great. Lack of literature. Yes, because we need to mine literature relative to our problem. So the lack of which of literature will really hinder us to write an outstanding or to write a research paper or research study in general. Okay, thank you very much. I guess I need to proceed now. Thank you. Okay, so um your answers are all valid. Okay, that these are some of the reasons which hinder us to write an outstanding research. So let me proceed now to what you call the rules of the game. Why is it a game? A game here refers to the writing, the dissertation, your dissertation journey, your studies in particular. It could be it is referred to be a game because to me the connotative meaning of this is that you're supposed to enjoy, okay, your study. So that's why it says that the rules of the game, and probably by following some of the rules, these are not actually some of the rules, like suggestions or guidelines. According to Brennan, you'll be able to properly manage. Okay, you'll be able to properly manage your research. So number one, as students, we need to open our mind as researchers as well. It says here that do not be defensive when you receive criticism. You need to open your mind to new ideas and learn from criticism, because it's always like that. When we do research, we need to have feedback. We need to have critiques coming from our supervisors, for example, coming from experts, for example. So do not expect to, if, for example, you're going to submit your proposal, do not expect to be, to receive back a clean paper. Sometimes what will be given back to you appears bloody, with a lot of corrections. So we need to be open-minded on that for criticisms, for critiques. Next, we need to develop your critical thinking skills. As this is research, it says here, good academics do not take anything at face value. Critical thinking is fundamental to the academic world. For example, critically evaluating prior research to problematize differently something taken for granted or to find a gap. That's why it says a while ago from one of our attendees that lack of literature is one of the factors that hinder him or her to write an outstanding paper, because it says here we need to problematize differently something in order to find a gap, or critically reading others' work, referring to the literature as part of the journal review process and providing constructive feedback. So, as researchers, we should be able to be critical thinkers for us to be able to establish a gap in our research, in our study. Next is be determined, dogged, and persistent, according to Brennan. Try to acquire the grit credential in terms of determination, doggedness, and persistence, because research cannot be done overnight. Again, sometimes we feel depressed, sometimes we feel hurt, of the comments of our supervisors, but then it's something like that. I mean, you know, it's expected. Be resilient. Be like a bowling skittle. No matter how many times we get knocked down, bounce back up again. Especially if at times our proposals will be rejected. So we have to be resilient, really. We need also to focus, all right? Do not allow other issues to distract you, because in doing research, we need to give our focus in writing, in establishing the merit of our study, especially the writing part. It would be very difficult if you did not have focus. Next is be disciplined. Initiate. You need to plan. You need to execute, control, and complete the research to meet the standards required within the time frame allowed by your university. This is very important. In conducting research, it takes a lot of soft skills, not just the hard skills. It doesn't enough that we're intelligent. We should also have that soft skills, like being disciplined, for example, being flexible, for example. We should have that kind of focus. Next is be methodological. Be methodical, keeping careful records of your reading, your research, etc. Proper documentation is very vital, is necessary when you conduct research. You need to properly document them, especially when you do your RL, your review of related literature, especially in gathering the data. You need to properly document them. Careful keeping of records is should be on top of the list. Next, we have take responsibility for your research. This is someone emphasis that this is your responsibility, although you have your advisor, although you have your supervisor, but it's you as a researcher are responsible to start your research and to finish your research. It says here, students, not their supervisors, are responsible for their research. And it gives us to the next point, learn from the literature. You see that literature, I'm referring to existing published studies relevant to your study, to your problem. It says here that become familiar with the top journals in your field. Ensure that papers you read in lower ranked journals are good papers. So you have to make sure that your references are coming from top tier journals, especially journals indexed by Web of Science, ISI, or Scopus index journals, because they are the standard, when we talk of quality, they're like the golden standards of of quality in terms of journals. Next, this is also very important that you need to consider good relationship with your supervisor. Why? It says here that relationship with supervisor extends beyond the academic period. That even after you're done with your thesis, you're done with dissertation, you'll have to continually communicate with your supervisor. For example, your supervisor may act as your referee in coming years as you apply for promotion. That's why do not burn bridges. Try to maintain and nurture your relationship with your supervisor. I just saw this one from one of the posts of, FBs. We have a lot of posts on FBs. It says here that doing a PhD is at heart one long discussion with your mentor. It's about talking, it's about negotiating. Okay. The discussion changes over time with unexpected turns and ups and downs, but through it all is a pair of people discussing a topic endlessly to make sense of it. And an advice to PhD students: choose someone you like to talk to. So I'm just trying to emphasize that you need to have good relationship with your supervisor. All right, and you have here, find a topic research question that interests you. This is very important because if that topic appears to be a burden to you, basically you'll not get over it. I mean, you cannot finish it. So you have to make sure that you're interested with what you are currently doing right now. And another, avoid fadu jur topics. What do you mean by fadu jur topics? Pick a topic that will be of interest when you publish it and for your readers thereafter. Meaning, do not choose a topic which is actually seasonal, like very fleeting, because what if you cannot finish that within a year, for example, and that phenomenon, for example, already fades away? So what are you going to do? It's no longer timely. So you'll have to propose again. So as much as possible, try to look for a topic which is like long enduring, like its theme is not fleeting. Okay. Academics are not journalists. Their work needs to remain relevant for a long period or for a long time. So you have to keep that in mind. And all write almost every day. This is very important that you should be able to develop routine in writing. If you write every day, you will eventually complete your paper, your thesis, or your dissertation. Writing is also a discipline that clarifies or that helps clarify ideas. Providing written work to your supervisor helps in the supervision process. Again, you write every day. You allot like 2 hours in your busy schedule, writing something, at least just a sentence or at least a paragraph to at least keep, to at least to get yourself started. Okay, that's the point there. And enjoy your studies. You see that? That's why it says here, for me, rules of the game, because you're supposed to enjoy your studies. You ought to enjoy your studies. Do not take it as a burden, or else you cannot find passion to continue doing your study. It is the most important rule, according to Brennan, which I reinforce by means of repetition. So enjoy your study. And that gives us another to another point, that we have to improve our self-dialogue. We have to improve our mantra, that instead of talking to ourselves, I can't, you change that to I can. Okay, it's very important that you have that kind of self-dialogue. You have that kind of self-talking. You have that kind of mantra. You say it every day that I can, that you can. Well, that belief will later on help create a fact. Remember that. And based on experience, I just tell myself that I can, I can. Of course, we couple that belief with an action. We cannot just stay there. Okay. We cannot just stay there. The belief, you have to believe and you couple that with an action. All right. Actually, I would like you supposedly I have an activity in Menti .com, but I think it would be very tedious on your part. So I think we can just utilize the chat box here. On a scale of 1 to 10, do you believe you can write an outstanding research in your field within a particular set of time? Again, we can just utilize our chat box here. Anyway, I can see the trend. On a scale of 1 to 10, do you believe you can write an outstanding research in your field within a particular set of time, 1 as the lowest and 10 as the highest? Don't you worry, you will not be judged. Okay. It's just a question of how far, you believe that you can actually write an outstanding paper. Okay, we have here 5. Oh, that's great. You have 5. How about the others? What's your level of belief? I think I'm at 6. That's great. Okay, that's great. That's great. Because the question is just belief. Do you believe you can write an outstanding research in your field within a particular set of time? 4 and 5, or 4.5 because it's a comma. I think it's 4 and 5 or 4.5. That's great. All right. Mm-hmm. I need one more, please. I need one more. We have 5, we have 6, we have 4, 5, we have 6. That's great. Thank you. Another question here is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that you can write an outstanding paper? All right. On a scale of 1 to 10, still 1 as the lowest, 10 as the highest. How confident are you that you can write an outstanding research paper? Just a sort of 4.5. This is great. There is now a point. 4.5. All right. We have 6. That's great. That's great. Level of confidence, you have 5.5. Why is there 0.5? 5.5. Okay. All right. Okay. I guess that's all. Thank you. Thank you so much for your engagement. All right. According to, very important that we have to establish that kind of belief in ourselves, because according to a new Stanford study, a positive attitude literally makes your brain work better. Okay. I'd like to repeat that. And according to a new Stanford study, a positive attitude literally makes your brain work better. Sometimes it takes a lot of psychological framing, to keep you going in conducting your research. So that's why we need to have that kind of self-efficacy in writing. A new brain scan study has revealed exactly how positivity affects the brain, and it's impressive. All right. So let me now give you a certain action plan. Since we're done with thinking what you can probably do, we're done with that kind of psychological framing that we should have that kind of self-efficacy, okay, for you to keep going. The next thing that we need to do is we need to have a concrete action plan of what we need to do. I have here a question. Okay, again, we'll just utilize the chat box because I think it would not be very much effective if you're going to use menti.com. Okay. Do you do most urgent things first? The answer is just yes or no. Do you do most urgent things first? What could be your answer? Do you do most urgent things first? Okay, the answer is just yes or no. I'd like to see, please, some engagement in our chat box. All right. Okay, we have yes, that's great. We have Maulina, that's yes as well. Okay, I like that. Thank you very much. We have Halim, that's yes. Okay, well, that's an expected answer. The next question, is it important? Okay. Is it important? That's the next question. Do you do most urgent things first? Your answer may be yes, but the follow-up question, was it important? Was that urgent thing important? That's the next question now. All right. Not necessarily. That's great. Yeah, expectedly. Okay. And that gives us with this kind of matrix. This is actually the Eisenhower Matrix. The Eisenhower Matrix, as it's indicated on your screen, is a productivity, prioritization, and time management framework designed to help you prioritize a list of tasks or agenda items by first categorizing those items according to their urgency and importance. So we have two factors to consider here, urgency and importance. Let's take a look at the first quadrant, okay? In the first quadrant, that's actually numbered one, that's the first quadrant. That's important and urgent. What are those things? We have crises, emergencies, pressing problems, deadline-driven projects that's actually important and urgent, or last-minute preparations. On the second quadrant, you have the important but not urgent. What are the inclusions? You have preparation, planning, prevention, values clarification, capability improvement, relationship building. Oh my goodness. Relationship building is on quadrant two. It's important but not urgent. True recreation and relaxation. On quadrant three, as what you can see, you have there not important but urgent. Okay, you have their interruptions, some callers, some mail, some meetings, many pressing matters, and popular activities. And in quadrant four, you have their not important at the same time, not urgent. For example, busy work, trivial activities, some calls or emails, escape activities, or time wasters. Now the question, where is research fitting to these four quadrants? Is it in the first quadrant? Is it on the second quadrant? Is it on the third? Or is it on the fourth quadrant? Can I have some answers, please, on the chat box? Where can we properly locate now research in these four quadrants? I mean, the actual doing of research. Should it be on the first, on the second, on the third, on the fourth? Or it depends on, it's a case-to-case basis. It depends on your it depends on your situation. Well, to me, if I'm going to look at it, it should be in quadrant number two, because you have the preparation and planning, and conducting research takes a lot of preparation, takes a lot of planning, and you don't need to immediately finish that at one setting, which is actually impossible. So you cannot finish research by just a setting. So basically, it falls under quadrant number two. It takes a lot of planning, and it takes a lot of preparation. So sorry. All right. So how are we going to use the prioritization matrix? Okay. The Eisenhower matrix. It says here, number one, list and rank your priorities. So you're going to list your priorities and rank them accordingly. Highlight all the tasks you need to carry out in a day, then classify them with weighted criteria based on two factors. We have urgency and importance. All right. Number two, define the value. The next step is to examine the importance and assess which of them impacts you the most. In a nutshell, the more impact a task has on people, the higher the priority, especially referring to your work schedule, for example, workload, for example. That's a very important thing to consider. Number three, take out the most challenging task in research. What is the most challenging task? Is it writing the introduction, writing the methodology, writing the results, or writing the discussion part? It says here that we need to take the most challenging task. Procrastination is not a symptom of laziness, but avoidance is. Sometimes we avoid a task because basically we do not know how to do it. Like we do not have the skill how to do it. The truth is that you will typically avoid tasks you don't know, you don't want to do. Number four, know what's important to you, especially again, when you are actually working, not necessarily in conducting research, you'll always encounter different choices that may be contradictory to your goals. For instance, a fantastic promotion that requires excessive travel will isolate you from important relationships. If you are not a priority conscious, you may accept it even though your family is your priority. Again, ask yourself if it's important to you. Next, establish regular no work time. This is very important. As what I already told you at the beginning, you should be able to establish certain routine Okay, certain routine. Is it possible to cut out time for our relationships and interests outside of work? This approach will enable you to renew your energy levels for the next task. So you should have that no work time, okay, in a day, for example, and you will just simply allot 2 hours, like an hour or 30 minutes looking into your research, because I know that everybody is busy, not unless you're a full-time student. Also, you will be in the best position to introspect as you are not in your usual work zone. And number 6, know when to stop. Okay, especially if you're already tired, your body has a way of telling you that you have to stop. All right, know when to stop. The Eisenhower's purpose for the 4 quadrants time matrix is actually to achieve real progress in life. Because it says here, life isn't just about being an employee or a boss, it's a mix of everything. By ensuring harmony between the roles, we can achieve our goals. So we have to properly manage our activities, we have to properly manage our time. And if you are a highly disorganized person, I'm sorry to say that, if you're a highly disorganized person, then I advise you to take the Eisenhower Matrix. You start listing your priorities now and rank them accordingly and weigh their value, weigh their importance according to 2 factors, whether it's important and whether it is urgent. That would help you manage a lot. Another technique which I would like to introduce to everybody, which I believe this is also very helpful, is the Pomodoro Technique. Okay, the Pomodoro Technique. Now we have here some sort of questions. Imagine you have a big school project due soon. What is the feeling that you have that big project which is due soon? What could be the feeling? So basically, if I were to answer that, like I'll be running against time, I'd be like, I feel the anxiety, okay, because the project is now is now due very soon, and sometimes you're not yet doing something like that, or maybe you have a lot in your plate that you have not started that certain project, and it's up and it's due very soon. So you feel the anxiety, you feel uncomfortable. It seems like you're working against time, right? So, okay. And I'm sorry. Okay. And making the most of time creates pressure that often leads to inefficiency. And that's really true because we can no longer think properly if we are working against time, right? If we're working under pressure, we can no longer think properly. Like there are no more better ideas getting in our brain. Okay. So that's why, that's the problem. We have here Francesco Cirillo created the Pomodoro Technique to change time to something that works for you rather than against you. As it's already mentioned that if we work under pressure, sometimes we can no longer think properly. And with this Pomodoro technique, instead of working against time, let's allow time to work with us. Okay, as researchers, for example, in the context of research, as researchers, and as employee, for example, as having work. So this is the things that you need to do. We have here step number 1, decide what tasks you need to complete. So basically you'll be listing down your tasks there and you're going to rank them appropriately. So decide what tasks you need to complete. And after that, you set the timer for 25 minutes. Okay. You set the timer for 25 minutes and then work on your task until the timer rings. Okay, set the timer for 25 minutes and then you start working. You devote all your energy, your focused attention to working on something for 25 minutes. Now, meaning if it reaches 25 minutes already, take a short 5-minute break. Okay, take a short 5-minute break. When I say break, like you can go for a walk, you can take a drink, for example, for as long as it's a break. Like you'll not be thinking something else, like you'll not be doing anything else for a 5 minute. All right, that allows you to think more, that allows you to renew perspectives, that allows you to like have some breathe. Then you're going to repeat that 4 times. After 5 minutes, then you'll have to set the timer again for 25 minutes. Then when it rings, you'll have 5-minute break again until you'll end with until you finish that 4 times. After that 4 times, okay, take a longer 15 to 30 minute break. That will help you a lot. Actually, I already tried that. I already tried that. That will help me a lot. And for sure, that will also help you a lot in accomplishing a task, especially when the task is already you know is having a deadline very soon, because when we have our work, for example, sometimes the announcement is in the morning and the deadline is in the afternoon. And sometimes, oh my goodness, how am I going to submit this one? We get pressured, we do not know what we're going to do, like, oh my goodness, my god. So we're so to somehow help ourselves, we need to practice this Pomodoro technique. Like 25 minutes, then we have a break, then you work again, then we have that 5 minutes and we work again, something like that, in order to keep yourself relaxed. It says here that planning means nothing if you don't take action. That's very clear that planning is not enough. What we did, I mean, what I just presented to you is some sort of like planning techniques, but we really have to do something on it, because planning, it says here, means nothing if you don't take action. It must be a proactive planning, that you plan and you couple that plan with certain action. Now, let's proceed to managing your academic writing. These are actually some of the questions, but then I don't I'm not requiring you to to have an answer. Just answer the questions yourselves. Okay, so you're just relaxed there listening to me. When and where you're most serene, creative, and productive in writing? You have to ask that yourself, okay? You have to identify when and where you're most serene, creative, and productive in writing. When? Usually, to me, usually in the morning, I'm very productive, okay? I'm very creative, and I can write a lot if it's in the morning. And where? Usually just in my room alone. I don't want distractions. Usually when I write, I lock the door. I don't want distractions when I write. And okay, what environment inspires you? Okay, it's also a good question. So to set the mood, okay, what environment inspires you? Well, environment which I can feel that I'm just alone, or sometimes when I can see a green environment, a literally green environment, that inspires me a lot, to write. It's very mentally stimulating to me. Where are you most concentrated and least distracted? Where? Okay, the question is where are you most concentrated and least distracted? You need to properly identify that. Again, I am most concentrated and least distracted when I am in a place devoid with distractions. And usually it's in my room. What day of the week and what time of the day do you find most fruitful for writing? Well, during this time of pandemic where we have a lot of work from home schedule. So I am most productive during my work from home schedule, because I can do a lot of my personal, things during my work from home schedule. And what day of the week and what time of the day? Again, as what you already mentioned, it's usually in the morning where I am productive. It's good if you'll be able to identify, okay, answers to all of these questions. That will help you a lot in managing, okay, your writing, for example, to be specific in research. It says here that it is helpful to set aside blocks for several hours of uninterrupted writing, and to give writing the priority it deserves in your otherwise busy agenda. As I already mentioned, place a lot, like minutes of your time, an hour of your time, at least daily, okay, in writing. Make it a habit. Establish that kind of routine for you to be productive in your work, to be productive in your research, for you to accomplish your thesis, for example, or your requirement. Make writing a priority during these sessions and avoid any distractions, such as answering emails. Go with the flow when you feel it is going well, but stop writing when you get stuck. That's very important. You need to stop writing when you get stuck. You don't need to force yourself into writing something if you're not in the mood. Okay, it's very important that you're setting your mood when you are writing something. Make use of writing sessions and sufficient short and long breaks. As what I already presented to you in the Pomodoro technique, for example, it's very effective to have a short break or long break in between. Especially, it's like rewarding yourself after achieving something. Okay, and achievement doesn't mean to be grand. All right. If you're able to write like one paragraph, two paragraphs, well, that deserves a celebration, especially for novice researchers. You don't need to, I mean, you don't need to finish writing the whole manuscript just in a setting. It's quite impossible. Reward yourself for achieving intermediate and long-term goals. Reward is very important. Okay. On a personal note, this is now on a personal note. In order for you to like manage your research and conducting research, I would like to recommend the following. Number one, the use of reference manager tools. You know, you are working a lot with your review of literature. You are dealing with different databases, and as soon as you see them, like you find them, you immediately download the material, for example. But then sometimes it's too like cumbersome, very unpractical. It's good to make use of reference manager tools. For example, EndNote X9. This is actually a product of Clarivate Analytics. This is not for free, but if you have an access or account of this, it would be very nice. You have ProSite. This is again not for free. This is under paywall. I mean, this is commercialized. We have Mendeley. Most of the Asian countries are, I mean, yeah, Asians are are using this because this is for free, and I'm actually using this one in my research. Mendeley, very nice. This is a product of Elsevier, and we also have Zotero. This is also for free. But personally, I'm using Mendeley to organize my reference materials. You can import reference materials on the web, all right? Or you can also import your downloaded reference materials to Mendeley, so that Mendeley acts as your library actually. But this is very good because once you imported all the materials, you can open the materials even if you're not connected with an internet. And so therefore, no worries, okay? No worries if you're if you don't have internet connectivity and you imported the materials in your Mendeley. Another consideration which I would like everybody to consider, this is not absolute actually, these are just some suggestions for you to be able to at least navigate your research well. Since we're not native speakers of the language and English is a medium of communication, I think we can also utilize Grammarly, because even if you are English teachers, even if you are majoring in English, it's inevitable that we have grammar flaws. So it's good to have a Grammarly. You know, it has a very good algorithm to check for grammar errors. That's very nice and it's very affordable, and you can have it by group. Okay. And I think you can also make use of Killbot. This is a paraphrasing tool just to give you an idea on what possible, you know, how you possibly restructure your current sentences, for example, to avoid plagiarism. That's also a very nice software that would help you a lot. That would help us a lot in navigating our research. And of course, I would like also to suggest that you have to have an account on academic databases. Okay, you can ask your institution about it, your university, on academic databases. For example, you may have an account. I mean, you should have an account in ProQuest, for example, in EBSCO, very important. And if possible, you have your account, account on like Scopus database, or maybe Web of Science database. These are very important databases, academic databases, when you are doing your research. All right, it's very important. Although Google Scholar would do, yeah, Google Scholar would do, but the problem with Google Scholar is that everybody can upload documents there, so therefore it's not scrutinized. Okay, so you have to personally evaluate the paper, whether the paper is actually trustworthy or not. But if it's coming from ProQuest, for example, this EBSCO, for example, and other academic databases, you're sure that these journals are of quality. So it's good that you have accounts of these databases. And on another note, if you already have your databases, it's good that you utilize certain technique in looking for your references, your materials. This is what we call Boolean technique. And we have here the Boolean operator, we have the or, we have the and we have the not. Okay, you're going to use Boolean operator or if, for example, you're looking for a study or a paper that discusses two significant variables. So that's why we have A and we have B. These are your variables, and you would like to, and you're looking for a paper that discusses these two variables. So you have to use or, the Boolean operator or. And when you key in that in the search engine, you have to make sure it's in capital letters so the search engine can detect that you're actually typing in a command. Okay, because if you're just going to key in a small letter, the search engine cannot detect that you're actually typing in a command. So we have A or B. Okay, for example, social media and or academic performance. For example, we use and um sorry, we use and we use and now if you're trying to locate a paper which discusses the two variables, the or, when you either look for the first variable or the second variable. All right, we have the and if you're going to look for a paper which discusses the two variables like the social media and academic performance, just an example of the variables. And we have the not if you would like to narrow down your search. For example, you're looking for Facebook use, not social media. If you are particularly looking for Facebook use and not necessarily social media. So that's how we can probably utilize Boolean techniques. We have the or, we have the and we have the not. And don't forget to type in this Boolean operators in capital letters. Okay. And another thing that I would like to recommend for you to like manage your research very well. If you're into quantitative research, it's good if you have your SPSS account, I mean SPSS software to analyze quantitative data. This is a statistical packages for social sciences. This is not for free, okay? But I am thinking if your institution has an account for this that you can possibly avail. But we have for free, we have the ZASP, for example. This is for free. This is an open source. We have GemMovie. This is an open source statistical tool. And we have NCSS 2021. NCSS is not for free, but this is a very good software similar to SPSS. They can process complex statistics. Okay, they can process complex statistics, but JASP is okay. GemMovie is okay, especially if you're just dealing with like simple statistics and if you're like fond of experimenting. Because to me, for example, I'm familiar with SPSS, but now since I do not have the license, I'm gradually shifting to using GemMovie or JASP. All right, in my in analysis of my quantitative data. And if you're into qualitative research, I also would like to recommend you to manage your qualitative data using, for example, Atlas T. Again, all of these softwares that I'm showing to you are not for free. I am very sorry. You really have to pay for that. Atlas T, you can actually adopt Max QDA. You can also use Quercos. Honestly, I'm using Quercos. This is very friendly, student friendly. I'm not promoting. I'm not even an ambassador, but I'm just telling you that this is what I'm using. Quercos. This is very basic, you know. Very basic. It doesn't have like, it cannot perform mixed methods analysis because that's very basic on thematic analysis. And we have also NVivo. This Atlas T, MaxQD, and NVivo are quite pricey, but they're very good at helping you analyze your data, especially if the data are very complex, like you'd like to perform mixed methods on quantity and quality data. That would help you a lot. The Atlas T, MaxQD, and NVivo. But Quercos, if you are a student, I would love to recommend that. That's what I'm using personally. And another thing, still on a personal note, read a lot, studies about your field of interest. This is a very important thing because reading a lot about your field of interest will be able to master your problem. You'll be able to master your methodology. Since you are conducting your research, you're doing your thesis, you should be a master of your own problem. I mean, you should be you should know both ends of your research. You should become an expert in your field, and you can do that by reading, okay, a lot of literature relative to your field and establish the gap of the study. And so you also need to develop a good research questions, which as much as possible smart in nature, which is smart. That's technically like specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time specific or time bound, because you need to finish your research within the time allotment given by the university, or maybe given by mhm, or maybe given by your supervisor. Next, choose a methodology or the methodology and methods very appropriately, as this is the usual challenge of choosing the methodology. But in choosing the methodology, but in choosing this, you don't need to choose first your methodology. You first need to establish the problem, basically. If you know the problem, then um, that's the very time that you'll be selecting or choosing certain methodology or that methods will just follow depending on your problem. You cannot choose methods ahead of time, because what is your problem all about? Okay, what is the problem all about? You first determine your problem, and later on look for an appropriate methods, okay, methodology and methods that will help you answer your problem, that will help you solve your problem. All right. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. Piloting your methods, very important, especially in data collection strategies. You can pilot that. Okay. You can actually try it out. You try out your methods, the strategies in collecting data, especially when you do qualitative research, we'll be conducting an interview. It's always good to pilot test, okay, the questionnaire, because it might be that some of the questions are very sensitive or maybe derogatory in nature. So it's always good to pilot test your qualitative questions. Organizing your data, as what already shown to you, you need to properly organize your data by means of what? Different softwares. You need to aid the process with the software if you would like to hasten, okay? If you'd like to be quick in your data analysis, and if you'd like to be organized, to be systematic in your research. Starting off with the use of what? Reference manager tools, going down to the use of different tools in the analysis of your data, qualitatively or quantitatively. Very important. Yeah, and that gives you another point on the data analysis. And writing your thesis daily. It's actually an iteration, like a theme already, that you have to write your thesis daily so you can finish that. Because if you're going to write it like in bulk, like you do it all at once, my goodness, you'll experience fatigue, okay, emotional and cranial fatigue. So you have to do you have to do it gradually, okay, gradually. So sorry, I cannot see my, okay, so you can properly manage that. And I am about to close. And actually, this is my this is my last slide for a while. Okay, this is my last slide. All right. It says here that success is 80% psychology and 20% skill. Again, success is 80% psychology and 20% skill. My point here, this is according to Tony Robbins, and my point here is that we need to psychologically frame ourselves. Like, we need to have a proper mindset. We need to have a proper attitude. You need to have that kind of self-efficacy, okay, about research. You have to tell yourself that you can, and you can, and you can, and you couple that with that kind of belief, with your 20% skill, with an action. Okay, with an action, 20% strategy, your research skills or abilities, you need to accomplish the result. Again, success is 80% psychology and 20% skill. That would be all. And thank you very much for listening. I hope I have stopped sharing. I hope I have imparted you something for this afternoon's talk.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rexlin, for the presentations. It's very nice presentations today that we can hear from Dr. Rexlin. So now we come into the Q&A sessions. If any one of you have the questions, you can ask directly by raising your hands. You can use a feature here in Zoom, raise hands, or you can write it down in the box chat or the link. Okay, we have one here, Adi Prasetyo. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. First of all, thank you very much for the presentation. It was very interesting. And secondly, I beg your pardon to close my camera because my signal is not very good in my
Is that
area.
right?
Yeah,
Sure, sure.
yeah. I wrote the question already in the form actually, but I would like to raise again in this forum. Interesting that you quoted about Eisenhower approach about the prioritization of the
Mau ambil
task,
sablon
right?
yang
But
warna hitam.
sorry,
Yes.
I would like to ask today, nowadays, we are in an era of disruption era. They call it a world with non-linear world, where the prioritization is it could be changing in seconds, right? So we can always have new things coming unpredicted. So how can we cope this situation with the approach of Eisenhower by separating the four quadrant because it could be changed at any time. Could you please elaborate a little bit more?
All
Explain.
right.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I hope I can answer that. Okay. The Eisenhower matrix is actually a matrix of doing things. Like it's the actual doing. Like for example, you're doing research. This is the matrix that you can follow in your work, for example. So this is only applicable in the actual doing of things. When you are outside in your, for example, 8 hours, if you're outside in your 8 hours, this is no longer applicable. And so therefore, it's really true that priority matters in a split of a second, especially now in the disruptions, and especially if you are outside your working time. So if you're outside your working time, this Eisenhower matrix may not be applicable because it says here that time wasters is in quadrant 4. Like you have not important and not urgent, but sometimes it's important. Like sometimes we need to like check our emails, sometimes we need to check our Facebook, sometimes we need to check our Instagram because sometimes it's a way to release our anxiety, you know. Sometimes it's a way to become connected, sometimes it's a way to become comfortable. So this quadrant, these 4 quadrants are very applicable in actual doing of work. But if you're outside in your actual doing of work, you can actually have another list of priorities that you can probably do. Okay, that you can probably do. That's my take on that. That this Eisenhower matrix is only applicable in the actual doing of work. Outside that, you can have another like quadrants that you can probably do. I hope
Okay.
I give justice to, to that question.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for
Thank,
that. But
thank
this
you.
is a part of my experience in my activity because I'm taking class also while working. So these kind
Yeah,
of things that change could be in minutes, you know. This also I would like to what do you call it? Find a solution because the demand, the request from the office is also now becoming a disruption way. You know,
true.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you very much, Leslie, for your
Thank you.
explanation.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Welcome.
Okay, thank you for the Mr. Adi. So next, do we have questions? Any questions from the audience? From maybe from me, Dr. Rexlin,
Sure.
about the research when we do a research. do you believe in luck, Doctor?
Come again. Come again. What method?
Do you believe in a lucky situations?
A luck.
Luck,
Luck.
yes, luck.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah, I think that's 50% yes and 50% no, because in doing research, especially in on part of approval of your thesis proposal, sometimes, I'm sorry to tell this, sometimes it's political. Okay, sometimes it's
mm,
political, and the approval of which is an approval of which lies on luck. Good luck if you'll be approved. Well, God bless to you. Something like that. Yes. And it is also no in terms of the implementation, because it takes a lot of careful planning. Okay, when you implement the research, in the choice of methodology, in the choice of the problem in the first place, you should be able to establish that the problem is indeed problematic. Okay, that's why there is a need to go back to literature to really establish, to support that your problem is indeed what you call this, urgent, and that this is a problem, and that you need to do this in order to contribute to the existing body of knowledge. So it's really 50-50.
okay. Thank you very much. Maybe you can tell us how did you pass the doctoral from your experience?
Oh,
Maybe
mhm.
we can
That's
learn
nice.
from what you have done so far. Okay.
All right. In the Philippines, where I graduated from, sorry for the dog. Sorry, it's outside.
Mm.
I graduated from the University of the Immaculate Conception, and our panelists are all locals, unlike other universities where they have that foreign examiners. So in our end, it was not very problematic. So the first thing that we need to do is we have to have a proposal, and we need to submit like a 30-page literature review in order to support our claim, in order to support our problem, that indeed this is a problem, that indeed this is the gap of research. So literature review is the first step in order for our research problem to be approved. Okay, that's the first thing. And after which, we have the proposal now, where we're going to explicate the problem, the situations, and what we can probably do in order to achieve, okay, in order to achieve our problem with an appropriate methodology, and with an appropriate methods. And after which, we'll be assigned to a supervisor, an advisor, for example, who will guide us through. Actually, it's not so much of a problem. The only thing which challenged me the most is on the data gathering, because I was not a full-time student. I was also working, so I have to like I have to
Yes.
properly manage my time, doing my work, data gather, and something like that. But it took me like a year to finish my dissertation alone. It took me like a year. It's really on the data gathering, yeah, that really challenged me the most. The rest, the writing, yes, that accounts for let's say 40% of the of the problem.
Mm,
The rest of the problem is really on the data gathering. Well, of course, that data gathering depends on the problem as well. Depends on the research as well. In my case, it was about I needed to conduct FGB focus group discussion. I needed to conduct in-depth interview. I needed to give questionnaires to my respondents, because it was mixed methods. Okay, mixed methods. So that's why it's like I was doing two research at the same time. So it was very taxing on my part. Yeah, yeah, that's it.
was incredible. Two research.
Yes, at the same time. But I was
Same.
only able to publish my qualitative part. My quantitative part still under review.
Oh, okay, here, any questions? You can directly ask your questions by raising hands. You can use the Zoom feature here. Any questions from the audience? or if you are a shy person, you can write it down in box chat. This is free of charge. Just ask a questions, not a
True.
paid question. And I think it will be very useful for us. Even I think most of you are students here. About skills, perhaps I want to ask again,
Sure, sure.
because yes, sometimes I look myself. I tend to take a psychological framework, yeah, to see things, even in research doing. So as you quote in the last slide, you quote from Tony, I forget,
Yeah, Tony
8,
Robbins.
itu 80% psychology and 20% skills.
Scale.
Yeah. So after seeing your presentation and trying to understand, I think it's maybe to say it's rather subjective decision.
True.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like Tony Robbins maybe would like to emphasize that yeah, well, reflect I mean carrying that over to research. I think the implication of that in doing research, it takes a lot of soft skills like perseverance, like patience, flexibility, open-mindedness in order to finish a
Yes.
project. Because if, for example, you are very stubborn, like you feel that you're better than your advisor, can you can you finish that research? Something like that. So I think the implication of what Tony mentioned, I mean, yeah, argued that 80% psychology and 20% skill to succeed in something is really that. We need to have a lot of soft skills. It's not enough that we are intellectually giant. We also need to
Yes.
be, yeah, intellectually giant but emotionally dwarves. We need to be, yeah, we need to have the soft skills. We need to to relate to people. We need to communicate. That's part of the soft skills because, yeah, that's part of the soft skills. And research, we need to have a lot of them. We need to have a lot of them. We need to negotiate. Okay. But that 20% to me is really significant. If you do not have that, you really fail. Yeah, because you cannot just like plan and
Yes.
plan and plan without action, and you do not know what you're going to do. You do not have the skill. It's really difficult. And since research is a skill, you can develop that. Like no one is hopeless here. No one is hopeless here. Everybody has the hope. Everybody has an opportunity, has the opportunity. You just have to educate yourself. You just have to nurture yourself because it's a skill, meaning you can perfect it over time. No one was born skillful in research. No one was born
Yes.
very good at managing time, managing research. This can be learned over time, and you have to learn that. You have to do that, or else. Well, I think research is not for everyone. I'm sorry to tell that. I think really research is not for everyone because we have different paths to follow. We have different talents. So I think we cannot force people to do research like, okay, you really have to do this like this and like that.
Yes.
I think we just have to teach them the skills, how to be critical thinkers. We just have to teach them how to, evaluate information properly so that they can apply these skills to their, because these are transferable skills. Critical thinking skill is a transferable skill. This is applicable not just in research, but in all facets of life. And deciding things, for example, my goodness, that's that's very applicable. Like we need to teach students, generally that when we decide, it should be based on data. It should be based on reality. We should not jump right away into conclusions. We should not do hasty generalizations, something like that. So these are areas which are very explicit in research, which can actually be carried over to some aspects of our life that which is not necessarily research field. So you see, life coping actually in general, research is very important. You know, the skills that we can learn aside from, you know, writing and publication are very important in making a life as a whole. If only we can imagine its importance.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Even though we are not born as a researchers, but I believe that as a students, we are always ready to make a research. We are as a students in
True.
the
I agree.
bachelor, master, and doctoral. So,
True.
any questions from the audience to get a deeper insight about? I think I would like to say about your current life as a student. It's challenging, but sometimes we can be stuck by maybe some certain problems or maybe some situations.
Correct. Correct.
Any questions from the master here? I see in your ID some master who attend this meeting. Mbak Berliana Putri, maybe any questions? Or Mas Aldi Ilham here? Any questions? Mr. Hasi Holland? From the from the doctoral program, Mr. Eko Prihartanto. Any questions that you want to ask Dr. Rex Lim? Nothing? Okay, if there is no questions at all, so I think and I consider that the presentations which Dr. Rex Lim delivered in this evening are clear for you, for all of you, and I hope, and not just me, we hope that these presentations can make your life, your study in this institutional education can be better and better. Thank you very much, Dr. Raslim, for your presentations.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So I give my time back to the MC, Mbak Dewi, Mbak Dewi Mbak Dewi. Thank you very much, Dr. Lim. Thank you for your presentation. It's very interesting. Maybe if the this audience, maybe if they have any questions, maybe can email or may send an email for you.
Sure.
Okay.
I'll type in my email in the chat box.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
For everyone, you can keep or save the email address for Dr. rexlim@diped@gov.ph, Philippines, ya, government.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you very much. So I
Thank you.
give
Thank you.
the times back to Mbak Dewi.
Okay, thank you very much. It was really interesting, and the way you deliver it, it seems very easy for us to understand. Thank you very much, Dr. Lim, for the inspiring lecture today, and thank you, Mr. Aurelius Ratu, for conducting this amazing session. Please give applause for our inspiring speaker and amazing moderator by using the Zoom action feature for today's empowering session. As a token of appreciation, I would like to present a certificate for our honorable speaker and moderator. So this is the certificate for Dr. Rex Lim as our gratitude for today's session. Thank you very much, Doctor, for your availability today in providing the lecture session on research management skill.
Thank you. Thank you.
And the next, I would like to present the certificate for Mr. Aurelius Ratu for being our moderator today. Thank you very much for your time and delivering the session very well.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. So before we part, I would like to inform you that we still have future agenda on R2SEP for architecture, urban planning, design, and social sciences stream, which will be conducted on 25th of November 2021 with the speaker Dr. Princess Zarla Raguindin from Far Eastern University. The topic is getting published. You can see it on the poster we are showing right now, and you can check it out on ITS Global Engagement website. So I would like to invite all participants to open the camera so we can have a group photo. Come on, guys. Show your best smile. Thank you. Now we have some face here. Okay, I will make a countdown. This is only like 2 slides, so it will be easy and very short. Okay, let me take the countdown. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Put your best smile. Cheers. So now the second one. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Cheers. Thank you very much. Okay, now that we have finished the group photo, I would like to remind all participants to fill the feedback form provided in the Zoom chat. Okay, the participant who will get stamp for it is the participant who comes on time during the event until the end and also fill the feedback form. Finally, we have reached the end of today's R2SEP, and we sincerely apologize for any inconvenience during the session from me as the Master of Ceremony and the committee as well. We will see you again on the upcoming session. Once again, thank you everyone for joining the session. Thank you, the speaker and also the moderator for the inspiring session. Good evening, stay safe, healthy, and bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you, Dr. Lim.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you,
Lim.
Dr.
Thank
Aurelius.
you.
Thank you,
Mr.
Dr. Rex Lim.